From Persia to Iran, a journey of a civilization. When we hear the word Iran, what often comes to mind is conflict, revolution, or nuclear weapons. But did you know, behind the headlines and political rhetoric lies the story of a nation that once shook the world. A land that once gave birth to the greatest empire of the ancient world, not known for war, but for governance, architecture, and tolerance. This is the story of Persia and how it gradually transformed into Iran. Not just a change in name, but a transformation of face, soul, and civilization. A journey spanning thousands of years, from ancient glory to sparks of modern struggle. From Persia to Iran, traces of a civilization that changed the world. In a dry yet fertile corner of the world, behind the Zagros Mountains and the Mesopotamian Valley, a people emerged who would alter the course of history: the Persians. More than 2,500 years ago, in the 6th century BCE, a young leader from a small tribe named Cyrus rose from the Iranian plains. But he wasn't just a conqueror, he was a visionary. Cyrus the Great, founder of the Achaemenid Empire, conquered great nations: Media, Lydia, and Babylon, not through brutality but through policy. When he captured Babylon in 539 BCE, he didn't burn the city. He freed the slaves, including the exiled Jews. He let religions and local cultures live on, an extraordinary decision for his time. A small clay cylinder now kept in the British Museum stands as evidence, one of the world's first declarations of human rights. The Cyrus cylinder is more than an artifact. It is a symbol that power can be exercised with justice. The Achaemenid Empire grew from eastern India to Egypt and Anatolia in the west. 1 in every 5 people in the world then lived under Persia's rule. But how did such a vast empire stay united? Persia built a governmental system far ahead of its time. Provinces called satrapies were each governed locally. They built royal roads spanning thousands of kilometers, the fastest communication network of the ancient world. They created tax systems, postal routes, and legal codes to maintain order. At its heart stood Persepolis, a symbol of unity and grandeur. Its walls were carved not just by Persians, but by the hands of those who were conquered yet respected: Egyptians, Babylonians, Indians, Greeks. In those majestic halls, the ancient world once stood together in dignity and order. But history always turns. Glory never lasts forever. After Cyrus's death, even after the reign of the mighty Darius the Great, Persia weakened from internal power struggles. And from the west emerged a young man who would change everything: Alexander of Macedonia. Yet even after the empire fell, Persia's legacy never truly died. Because true civilization isn't just about palaces and armies, but about ideas, spirit, and timeless values. But the story of Persia didn't end there. Behind every mighty empire lies a fragile era. After the fall of the Achaemenids to Alexander and the rise of the Parthians and Sassanids, Persia remained a magnificent civilization, but no longer invincible. By the 7th century CE, the once proud Sassanid Empire, guardian of Zoroastrianism and Aryan heritage, began to crack. Endless wars with the Eastern Roman Empire, economic crises, and internal intrigues left the kingdom exhausted, limping, and awaiting its final blow. And as the sun of their power set, from the southwest, out of the silent deserts of Hijaz, came a new wave bearing scripture and sword, shouting, "La ilaha illallah." Islam arrived with fire and conviction. In less than a century from the barren Arabian Peninsula, Islam rose as a powerful military, social, and spiritual force. In 636 CE, at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, Muslim forces defeated the Sassanids. And by 651 CE, the Sassanid Empire fell. Its last king, Yazdegerd III, was killed in exile, and Persia was conquered. But conquest was only the beginning of a far more complex chapter. Islam spread across Iran, but unlike most conquered lands that fully adopted Arabic, Persia chose a different path. They embraced Islam, but kept their identity. From a people once devoted to fire temples emerged scholars, scientists, and philosophers who wrote in both realms, reason and revelation. In the shadows of mosques and minarets, Persia became the intellectual engine of the Islamic world. Look at the names: Ibn Sina, Avicenna, giant of philosophy and medicine; Al-Khwarizmi, founder of algebra and the concept of algorithms; Al-Ghazali, the balance between reason and faith; Rumi, the mystic whose poetry transcends time and culture. Many Abbasid caliphs were born or raised in Persia. And it wasn't just thought Persia beautified Islam. From blue-tiled domes, intricate calligraphy, mesmerizing geometric patterns, to the very concept of paradise gardens in Islamic architecture, originating from Pari Dieza, the root of the word paradise. Even as part of Islam, Persia never lost its soul. In silence, it kept its legacy, through poetry, through language, through pride in its ancient civilization. Persia had fallen, but stood again in a new form. They didn't reject Islam, they shaped it. They didn't vanish in history, they melted into it. A people who knew how to transform, yet preserve the beat of the past. But in the modern era, a new dilemma would shake Persia's identity once more. In the 20th century, the world changed rapidly. Europe rose, the Ottoman Empire fell. Colonialism peaked, and in the Middle East, Persia began to wobble. A great nation of old stood under pressure from foreign powers, Russia and Britain vying for influence over its oil-rich lands. In 1921, a military officer named Reza Khan staged a coup. Years later, he crowned himself Reza Shah Pahlavi, founder of a new dynasty. His mission: to build a modern, strong, independent Iran equal to the West. And it began with radical change. Traditional clothing was banned. Clerics were suppressed. Islamic law was replaced by French-style civil law. Women were encouraged to remove their hijabs. Men were forced to trade their robes for European suits. Roads were built, railways laid, and secular education enforced. In 1935, Reza Shah made a bold symbolic move. He changed the name of the country from Persia to Iran. Iran derives from the Avestan word Aryanam, meaning land of the Aryans. It was a statement of nationalism, no longer a glorious ancient kingdom, but a modern nation. But beneath this modern face lay a heavy price. Many felt this wasn't modernization, but cultural colonization from within. So Islamic identity was suppressed, traditions labeled backward, and slowly resistance grew from religious scholars, from the poor, from those who felt like strangers in their own land. In 1941, during World War II, Reza Shah was forced to abdicate by the British and Soviets. His son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, took the throne. Though he appeared gentler, the Pahlavi dynasty became even more entangled with Western powers. A new leader emerged, Mohammad Mossadegh, a prime minister bold enough to nationalize Iran's oil from British control. But the West saw this as dangerous. In 1953, the CIA and MI6 orchestrated a coup. Mossadegh was overthrown. Reza Shah returned, stronger but more submissive. Iran under Mohammad Reza became a land of two faces. Skyscrapers rose in cities, but clean water remained scarce in villages. Elites lived in luxury, people lived in poverty. On the surface, Iran looked like Europe. But beneath lay wounds of identity masked by shallow glitter. And like ancient Persia before, when pressure peaked, something exploded from within. Iran was heading toward a storm, not from foreign enemies, but from within its own heart. In 1979, everything changed. From afar, Iran under the Shah looked beautiful. Tall buildings, paved roads, modern women. But behind the luxury storefronts, people felt foreign in their own homeland. Forced modernization bred wounds. Authoritarian rule deepened them. Love for the West felt like betrayal. Reza Shah clung to power with Western help. His secret police, Savak, became an engine of surveillance and torture. But voices of resistance whispered in mosques, burned in classrooms, and echoed in prayers. And from exile in Paris, a black-clad cleric watched his homeland boil. He was Ayatollah Khomeini. Not just a religious man, he was a symbol of crushed identity. By 1978, protests exploded. Students marched, mosques filled. Shah's photos were burned and Khomeini's posters pasted in the night. City after city united in rage. One chant, "Death to the king." Reza Shah tried to hold on, but trust was gone. Even the army faltered. On January 16, 1979, Shah fled Iran. No parades, no farewell speech. Only silence and cheers in the streets. But revolution was not the end. It was the start of something far more complex. In no time, Khomeini abolished the monarchy. Iran became an Islamic republic. New laws were written based on Sharia. Clerics now held supreme power. Iran was no longer ancient Persia. Old enemies were replaced by new ones. America became the great Satan. That same year, student revolutionaries stormed the US embassy in Tehran. Iran had entered a new era, a nation that now defined itself by resistance. Resistance to Western modernity. But amid all this, does Persian identity still live? Or has it been lost in revolutionary smoke? History isn't over. Iran still searches for itself between its ancient glory and an uncertain future. Today, walk the streets of Tehran and you'll see a clash of worlds. This is modern Iran, a nation of paradoxes. The 1979 revolution has lived for more than 4 decades. Iran is governed by a powerful theocracy, led not by a president, but by a Rabbah, a spiritual leader. But the world keeps moving, and Iran's new generation refuses to live only in the past. They want to write the future. Iran is not just revolution, not just politics or nukes. In the midst of chaos, Iran remains a land of poets, philosophers, dreamers, and seekers of light. In the hearts of Iran's youth lies a great struggle between the grand Persian legacy and a rapidly changing modern world, between revolutionary Islamic values and the yearning to be free as individuals. Iran is not just a country on the world's conflict map. It is a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest questions. Can we change without losing ourselves? Can we move forward without cutting our roots? And above all, will a legacy of thousands of years still shine in an uncertain world? From Persia to Iran is not just a name change, it's the journey of a nation's soul. If this story opened your mind, click like, share with a friend, and comment below. What does identity mean in today's world? Because what's happening in Iran may be the mirror of what's slowly happening everywhere. See you in the next episode. 1.